And I'm going to pin myself. Hello. Oh boy. How wonderful. Thank you for coming. I'm really happy to see you. I kind of want to wait a moment. From San Miguel, how lovely. I love seeing where people are coming from. This is really beautiful to me. My heart is pounding. It's a big deal to get on a big Zoom call, especially with people I don't know. So thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. The music that we were listening to, for anyone who's really into music like I am, is the group is called London Grammar. London Grammar. And the music is, the song is called Bittersweet Symphony. It's really beautiful. We've got people still coming on, but I think we will get going. Oh, thank you, Janet. I appreciate it. Okay, should I get started? Should we just get going? Okay, good. All right, thank you all for coming. I know you're busy and today is a holiday, so I appreciate that you make the time. That really touches me a lot. We're recording this, so if you have to check out early, we'll send you the recording later today. We'll be recording every session this week, so you can't miss it. Today is live. We're going to go for about an hour. We're going to do 2 13-minute rites. Tomorrow, you're going to get a video that's under 10 minutes. And Wednesday, we'll go live again. Thursday, another video under 10 minutes, just so you can do the practice. And then Friday, we'll come back and we'll go live again. So if you're looking to do some writing this week, you will get a chance to do a good amount of writing, okay? So I'm going to introduce the practice, and then we're going to write. Like I said, we're going to do 2 13-minute sessions. And then, and I'll talk about the practice and warm the waters for us. And then we'll leave some time at the end for questions. You can put questions in the chat if you like. We won't get to them till the end. And my wonderful assistant, Janet McKeehan from New York, is going to be minding the chat and also making sure that we're all muted. But Janet will be responding when she can, but also saving the questions for the end, okay? So we'll do that. Janet's a graduate of the Wild Rider Teacher Training, which is this, thing I do every year. And so it's really a pleasure to be surrounded by people in this practice. Janet, thank you for coming and helping me today. It makes a difference. So I'm Lori Wagner. I'm in Northern California, and the rain has stopped. So we're letting all the grass dry and nature, catch its breath again. I've been a writer and a writing teacher for the last 35 years. I've taught all sorts of creative nonfiction, and I've published books and essays, but really the heart and soul of my work for the last 15 years has been this wild writing practice. And it's a standalone practice. If that's all you did, or if that's all I did, it would be practice enough. But it's also the technique I use to start all my writing, whether I'm writing poetry or essays or blog posts. It's this tool, this wild writing tool, is how I start everything. So it's really the heart and soul of my practice. And the reason it is so important to me is that, wild writing is a freedom practice. It's a very accessible, very deep writing practice that allows us to get a lot of ink on the page in a very intuitive and instinctive way, and to write from a more creative and loose place. That's what I'm looking for in my writing. That, as opposed to listening to the critical voice, which all of us have, and, which is the killer of all creativity and goodness. That the critical voice wants us to look good or make sure we sound like writers, or, we all have it. We all have that voice. And this practice kind of cuts through it. It's the practice I know to do that. And the critical mind is great for the editing. It's great for later when you're tightening things up and when you're, shaping. But when we are trying to get to the heart of what we're trying to say, the heart of the story, or like, you can feel this thing you're trying to say, it's the wild writing, it's the messy writing that helps me and a lot of people who practice this with me get to the heartbeat of what we're trying to say, what we mean to say. And I think you need to get messy for that to happen. It's not going to be sitting there waiting for the perfect word. That's just death. That's a kind of death. So, we don't need the editor when we're getting a lot of ink on the page, which we're going to do today. Wild writing is the antidote to perfectionism. And I tell all my students, please write as poorly as possible, which is so discombobulating because, we've been trained to do this other thing. So when I say, please write as poorly as possible, and I say it every single time I teach, is what I really mean is relax, let your belly hang over your jeans, take a deep breath, show up with bedhead, really just relax and show up as you are, because, what we're trying for on the page is a kind of authenticity. One human being to another. That's what we're really looking for. And so we want to be able to, part the curtain, part the veil of how we want to be seen and actually step out as a human being, because that's how we connect with other people. When I reveal myself on the page as I am, and I have the courage to sacrifice my facade and how I want you to see me, then there's a chance that when I get on the page and you read me or you hear me, hopefully you connect to yourself. And when you connect to yourself and relax, it encourages you to come out on the page as well like that. And so I think this is I always say to the writers with me, wild writing changes the waters of your community, because when you start showing up like that on the page, it infects people with that and it encourages people. And that's the kind of conversation you're having with people, that more authentic thing. So, we're looking for a kind of authenticity, one human being to another. That's how we connect. And especially in these last few years, this has become even more important to me because, we've seen how so much has fallen away, and there isn't time for all that fancy pants stuff. There isn't time for all that posturing and wanting to look good. We just want to show up in a real way. And so, as I said, I want to sacrifice my facade so you can see me. And when you see me, you see yourself. And that's how I want to write. And that's the kind of writing that I'm doing in wild writing and sharing with people and inviting people into. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm inviting you to show up on the page as your actual selves in the simple beauty that you have access to, your ordinary stories and your ordinary words, and just the stuff that's just right there, your experiences. And I will share more about this practice as the week continues, but I think we should start writing because that's what you've come here for. So let me say a couple more words and then I will lay it on you. Okay, are you ready? Is everyone's belly hanging over their jeans? Mine is. And just relax, really, honestly. I was talking to my friend Maya Stein today, and we were talking about how as we get older, holding up the perfectionism is just more and more impossible. We just don't have the energy for it. We just don't have it. And so can we trust ourselves? Can we trust our words? Can we trust our instinct to actually show up, whether it be on the page or in our lives, in a relaxed and authentic way? So this is our practice. So wild writing, for those of you who've never done it with me before, it's an automatic writing technique. So which means we are going to write really, really quickly for 13 minutes. That's what we're going to do today, 2 13-minute sessions. Janet, can you hit the mute, please? Thank you. And this is me too. I get muted too. Okay, we're going to write as quick as we can for 13 minutes. And the reason we write so quickly, this is really important, is we're trying to bypass the critical voice and the voice that wants to come in and help us. We're writing so quickly that we can't assemble that. And all we can hear is the word coming and the word after that. And that's the practice we're doing. We're actually trying to write so quickly, even if what you're writing is, oh my God, my hand hurts and I forgot to turn off the oven and what the hell was I thinking coming onto this class? I have to get to the gym or whatever is coming, you just write. That's what you're training yourself to do. You're writing so quickly, you can just hear the word and the word after that, okay? And that's why we're writing so quickly. So that's really important, that this practice is also a listening practice, because when we're listening to what's coming, that's the instinct and the intuition and the creative unconscious. And that's the muscle that we're building in this practice. And I say practice because it's something that we practice, we do it over and over. And so we're building this muscle to not listen to the critical voice. And all we have to do is just write really quickly and listening to this other thing that's coming, okay? So we're building that muscle. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read you a poem. And if you like, you can close your eyes. I find it easier to take things in when I'm listening to something with my eyes closed, and then there's not as much visual information. So if you like, close your eyes, keep your eyes closed as I read it to you. And as I read it to you, just notice what is arising for you, because it's going to be a word in the poem or something else. And you're going to have these thoughts arising. They may have nothing to do with the poem. That's okay. The words are connecting to the creative unconscious, just like the dream, it's like, where's that coming from? Just listen for what's coming and pay attention to that, because that's the stuff you might want to write about. That's the gift of the creative unconscious going, here you go, try this. And you really want to pay attention to that, because I know that sometimes when people listen to what's coming and they think that's no good, or I can't write about that, or that's nothing, whatever, the creative unconscious kind of shuts down. So if I'm not listening to what's coming, my writing kind of goes south. So see if just for today, you can practice writing as fast as you can and listening for what's coming. Okay, there's no right way to do it here. This is not an assignment. So if I read you a poem about trees, you don't have to write about trees. You can write about whatever you want. You're listening, the poem has a word and all of a sudden you're thinking about your 7th birthday, or this conversation you had, or a dream you had. It doesn't matter. That's what's arising. So we want to look at really just what's coming, okay? We want to make that connection with the creative unconscious. And see if you could just keep the pen moving and not reach for a better word or a smarter word. Just keep the pen moving, okay? In fact, sometimes this is when you get really lucky and you use the wrong word, you get taken into like a beautiful wrong place. You know how like sometimes if you're driving and you take a left when you should have taken a right, you enter a neighborhood you might not have seen if you had followed the plan. And so sometimes we hope, I say to my students, like, pray that you will stumble, pray that you will use the wrong word, because the wrong word will take you to a rich place that you couldn't even have imagined, Okay, so it's listening practice, listen to the words that are coming. All right, I'm going to read the poem. I'm going to give you some jump off lines, and then I'm going to read it to you one more time, because listening is its own muscle. You're going to use those lines, or one of them, take a line or so, and just start writing. Just keep writing. And as you're writing, when you come to an end of a thought or the end of a sentence, you come and you're done, use that jump off line again. You might use that jump off line 6 times in the piece. It's like a shovel to help you keep digging, okay? Just keep returning to that jump off line. And if you find yourself tired or bored, or please make this stop, use this line. The line is, you might want to write it down, what I really want you to know, because it kind of just sort of wakes you up, okay? What I really want you to know. So use that, okay? Okay, are you ready? All right, let's go. I'm going to send you these poems too, so that when we send you the recording, we'll send you the poems. Actually, Janet's going to put it in the chat as well. So I'm going to read you this first poem. It's so beautiful. It's called How We Are Not Alone by Maya Stein. And everyone should know her. She's an incredible writer and wonderful person in Maine. So here it is. Close your eyes if you like. How we are not alone. Because a light on the other side of the street reveals someone more insomniac than you. Because the camera made its way into the carry-on, not for the traveler, but for those staying behind. Because the daisy, its boastful yellow, begged for a closer look. Because you found yourself being stared at by horses. Because the church bell rang precisely at noon and all the stores slid closed. Because someone else's charcoal fire made your own mouth water. Because you're afraid of losing him in a crowd. Because of the mournful sound of train whistles. Because your father let you see him cry. Because a palm against a cheek steers the world into softer focus. Because the poplars insist on weathering the winter. Because of lighthouses, because of shadows, because of a shared memory of perfume, because of the sound of feet on cobblestones, because of window boxes, because of the man spinning pizza dough like a circus act, because the apple tree freed itself of dessert, because you could hear the waterfall from a mile away, because she understands your every look, because the martini glasses came in fours, because the cashier's hand grazed your palm despite the coins between you, because even if the first words fail, the next ones won't, because the car in the next lane signaled left, because of the stone wall you found in the woods, because the dog returns at a single whistle, because of the brilliant descent of leaves and the pile that beckoned the neighbors, because a handful of blackberries saved you the last miles home, because the stars look as though they're winking. How we are not alone, because that's, that's the title of the poem is really the jump off line, how we are not alone. And then using this repetition because is a really, really wonderful way to move deeper into it. Because last night I got a call from my mother, because this morning I noticed that the mailman had put because my brother told me that, because later today I'll be really just loose, really free associate and loose, okay? I'm going to read it one more time. And the reason I read it again is so you can muse and so you can have that experience of listening and seeing what's coming and so you can hear it. I'm also going to give you a couple of extra jump off lines in case the first one just didn't do it for you, okay? So one more time, if you can tolerate a little more poetry. How we are not alone. Because a light on the other side of the street reveals someone more insomniac than you. Because the camera made its way into the carry-on, not for the traveler, but those staying behind. Because the daisy, its boastful yellow, begged for a closer look. Because you found yourself being stared at by horses. Because the church bell rang precisely at noon and all the stores slid closed. Because someone else's charcoal fire made your own mouth water. Because you're afraid of losing him in a crowd. Because of the mournful sound of train whistles, because your father let you see him cry, because a palm against a cheek steers the world into softer focus, because the poplars insist on weathering the winter, because of lighthouses, because of shadows, because of a shared memory of perfume, because of the sound of feet on cobblestones, because of window boxes, because of the man spinning pizza dough like a circus act, because the apple tree freed itself of dessert, because you could hear the waterfall from a mile away, because she understands your every look, because the martini glasses came in fours, because the cashier's hand grazed your palm despite the coins between you, because even if the first words fail, the next ones won't, because the car in the next lane signaled left, because of the stone wall you found in the woods, because the dog returns at a single whistle, because of the brilliant descent of leaves and the pile that beckoned the neighbors, because a handful of blackberries saved you the last miles home, because the stars look as if they're winking. how we are not alone, how we are not alone, and these lines, because, and if you find yourself moving into a story, go there. You only repeat because as it serves you. If you don't like this poem or these lines, here's one thing for you. Write this. A few things I don't know how to write about. A few things I don't know how to write about. Write that. Or what if I were to tell you, what if I were to tell you, and keep going, okay? All right, I'm gonna time us 13 minutes. Write as fast as you can, pen never leaving the page. Say yes to what's coming, just listen and report. Okay, friends, you got this, you got this. Write as poorly as you can. You're doing great. You have a couple of minutes. And just start to move toward the end. You have time. Just start to move to the end. And just coming to the end. I hate to disrupt people when they're writing. Give you a minute. And you can come back to this piece you're writing. If you've written something that interests you, you can type it up. You can return to it and add to it and keep going. So I'm going to keep going, okay? All right. This is such a practice. It's, not always easy to let go of the perfectionism. That's how we're conditioned. We want to make good things. I want this hour to be great. I have to let go of that too. I have to, we're just doing as we can. And so letting go of the perfectionism is not so easy for us. It's kind of counterintuitive to how we know how to make things. But part of what wild writing is about is learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable, which means not always liking what we're writing. And if you're a creative person and you're painting or making music or art or whatever you're up to, and the moment you don't like something and you shut down and you're like, I'm hungry, or I better go check the mail or whatever, we're not going to make anything. So part of it is, growing that muscle to keep going in the face of not loving it, because there's plenty of moments like that, but it doesn't mean anything. You just keep going, and you might write for 10 minutes in this practice today, and only in minute 11 might you actually write something that's interesting to you. But you had to take the first 10-minute journey to get there. You don't just sit down and brilliance. It's like, here I am in the practice. Here I am remembering, moving my hand, pen on the page, 10 minutes. And so that's the practice, is taking that journey. I think some people have a fantasy, we're just trained like this, that if you're talented, if you're a writer, you sit down and you do brilliant stuff. But that's not so much. I think it's not talent that we're looking for as creative people, but tenacity. the ability to keep going in the face of not loving it. And I know for myself, that's the only reason I'm able to keep writing, is because I try not to make it mean anything. So we have to have a little humility on the journey here. We're going to do another piece right now, and it's called Everyday Grace. Everyday Grace by Stella Nasanovich. Okay, I'm going to read it to you again. And I do hear noise, Janet, if you could help me with the mute. Thank you. And I'm part of that. Yeah. All right. Are you ready? All right. Everyday Grace by Stella Nasanovich. Here you go. It can happen like that. Meeting at the market, buying tires amid the smell of rubber, the grating sound of jackhammers and drills. Anywhere we share stories and grace flows between us. The tire center waiting room becomes a healing place as one speaks of her husband's heart valve replacement, bed sores from complications. A man speaks of multiple surgeries, notes his false appearance as strong and healthy. I share my sister's death from breast cancer, her youngest only 7. A woman rises, gives her name, Mrs. Henry, then takes my hand. Suddenly, an ordinary day becomes holy ground. Here's that poem, here are the lines. It can happen like that. And when I read you a poem like this, it's not even, it's really I think of these poems as a sort of like this sort of poetic, gorgeous medicine that we're taking inside, and it's stirring us up. This beautiful moment that this author, this writer is bringing us into, this holy moment in the tire center. And she's bringing us into a place where things like that happen. And as I read it, you might have memories or a moment like that. And so a jump off line is, it can happen like that. And that's the line you repeat. It can happen like that. Another line you can use from this is, an ordinary day becomes holy. An ordinary day becomes holy. Or this line you can use, and it's not in the poem, but it could help you. And the line is, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. So here's the poem one more time. Everyday Grace. It can happen like that. Meeting at the market, buying tires amid the smell of rubber, the grating sound of jackhammers and drills. Anywhere we share stories and grace flows between us. The tire center waiting room becomes a healing place as one speaks of her husband's heart valve replacement, bed sores from complications. A man speaks of multiple surgeries, notes his false appearance as strong and healthy. I share my sister's death from breast cancer, her youngest only 7. A woman rises, gives her name, Mrs. Henry, then takes my hand. Suddenly, an ordinary day becomes holy ground. Beautiful. So the jump off lines, it can happen like that. It can happen like that. Or even this line, it was an everyday grace. It was an everyday grace. Or I didn't see it coming. Those are your lines. Okay? Keep the pen moving. Write as fast as you can, 13 minutes. Say yes to what's coming. Write as poorly as possible. You got this. Just a couple of minutes. Just start moving toward the end. Okay. There we have it. Mhm. You know, the cool thing about spending some time writing like that is that after this session is over, you're going to get up and you're going to do whatever you're going to do next. But the writing is still moving through you. Everything, you know, everything that you were doing is moving through you. And later today, you might have a thought about like, oh, I'm going to add that to it. Or, oh, that's what I was trying to say. You know, like it's alive in you. So I appreciate the practice for that. I wanted to open it up for questions. We just have about 6 minutes, but I've put myself in the center of this because I think I should have all along pinned myself. Would you raise your hand if you have a question? And Janet, can you help me see that? Great. I know that, okay.
Shelley has a question.
Hey, Shelley.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm grateful for this session. Really beautiful process. I have a lot of stories that feel locked. And so just now, I wrote to the beginning of 2 separate stories.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, once you've begun, do you use the same jumping off place, the same line, or do you choose something from your writing for your own jumping off line? What would you do?
Within one piece, within the same piece, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for my first way in, I might keep using the line, but you can certainly, like that other line, like, here's what I'm trying to say. Here's what I'm like a really helpful one to add to it. But sometimes also when I'm writing, like if I find myself in a repetition, like if I find myself writing a line like, the thing about it was, I might use that as, you know, I might use my own writing that I'm generating as a jump off just to keep a rhythm going.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
to see you. Thank you, Shelley. Hi,
Yeah.
Evie.
Hi, I'm Evie, actually, that's
Evie.
fine. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. Maybe I misunderstood, but you said you were going to put the poems in the chat. Or was it just the title you were putting in? Because I couldn't find them.
Yes, just the title.
Oh,
and
just the title.
Yeah.
And will the poems themselves be sent to us?
I think I can do that.
Oh, I thought that was what you were saying.
I-
And I'm sorry. And to get a certain flavor for a poem, how do you feel about reusing the jumping off line throughout the entire poem over and over, like a rejoinder, you know, like a more formal piece of poetry where the lines are repeated?
I feel good about it.
Okay. All right.
I feel
Thank
good
you.
about it. And guess
Thank
what?
you.
And then when I'm editing or I'm cleaning something up, I might take some of those out because they were helpful, like ladder, like you know, rungs on a
Scaffolding.
ladder. They were help me moving forward. And in the piece, they might not serve. Like I like to read pieces aloud. And when I read it aloud, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to take that out. But the piece holds together, you know? Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Evie. Hi,
Okay.
Tanya. You are muted. I know. You don't think this far into the pandemic we can read lips, but I can't.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Hi, Lori. Thank you so much for doing this, and it's nice to meet you via cyberspace here. I wanted to just ask you, because I've been reading a lot of Patti Smith lately, and I was listening to an interview where she mentioned that she doesn't like to write negatively about people like in her life or whatever. And it's kind of a moral dilemma because, you know, she said, you can't take it back. So, you know, she just tends to not do that. And I just was wondering if you have an opinion one way or the other. Like, how can you be completely real and honest and not?
Right. I know that's such a good question. And it's I think it plagues us all the time. I mean, on the one hand, when we're just writing for ourselves, let's just let it fly. Let's just say exactly what we want to say without holding back. Because I think that's its own medicine. That's its own relief. When we're writing, and I'm writing right now, big stories about family. And I'm thinking about that same thing as I'm writing, like, and so I think there's a responsibility and there's a way to write about people, especially people who didn't show up in your life the way they might have, you know. There's a way to write about it and without forgiving them or making it smaller. There's a way to do it. And I'm just going to reference one of my important teachers, what she has to say about it. And it's Dina Metzger. And what she says is that the paradigm of good guys and bad guys is over, that we don't have a world where there are good guys and bad guys, because that doesn't teach us anything, right? We can say like, look what he did. But instead she asks, how does it happen? How does it happen that a father who was tasked with raising his daughter also shamed her? How is it possible? And so that asks us a deeper question of what happened to the father that he did that thing?
Patterns.
Yeah, patterns. And
Yeah.
so it doesn't forgive what we do, but it has us understand how good people show up in ways that aren't so good. So that's the best I know how to do, you know. Good question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori.
Hey, Leah. And we're going to go over a couple minutes, but if you have to go, but I'm happy to answer your questions. Leah, hi.
Thank you for that. And thank you for that question. And I love that answer. I wasn't expecting to get even more from this. I just had a technical question. You talked about how you use this prior to writing blogs or any sort of content. Do you pick a prompt that is related to the subject that you are about to write about, or do you do something random and unrelated to the topic?
Good question. I've been doing it so long, I could practically pick anything. But I think that certainly there are poems and prompts that help us get into the heart of things. So, I mean, almost any prompt the poems that I like, the poems that I use in wild writing, they're personal to the writer, but they also open up wide so that anyone can walk into it and write about a million things, you know? So I just think if you're looking for poems, if you're using poems as jump off lines, I would just think of these poems you look at every day as like tea leaves, you know? One day you're going to pick something up and it's like, you know, right before I got on this session, I read a couple of Mark Nepo poems because he's so beautiful and he speaks to the heart. And it's like, I wanted to get into the heart of things. So anyway, good question. Thanks, Leah. Hey, Carol Ann. Hi.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm
There we go.
probably
There we
late.
go. Okay, yes,
Join.
hello, and yes, thank you very, very much for this session. It's very enjoyable. My question is mainly, these exercises are mainly for the mental muscle for writing, I would say. Now, the thing is, getting it from this kind of wild writing, do you look at it and would you try to shape and form this into actual writing, or would you take things out of it, or is this just a get the wheels going exercise and then focus on what I really want to write, or what would you do with this?
It's all of it. It's all of the
Okay.
above. It's all of the above. It's a way to warm up before something else. It's a way because you're saying like, okay, great. I'm going to everything. I'm going to warm up. I'm going to let it all go. It's kind of like, you know, stretching before you go for a run or something. So it can be that. These are standalone pieces. Some of these pieces come out whole. They're
Okay,
gorgeous. They're just beautiful. And they do need a little nipping and tucking.
right.
Shape it, but they're beautiful. And
Right.
also sometimes I'll write something and my students will write something. And down there on page 2 at the very bottom is this paragraph, which is like, oh, right, that. And so if I'm going to reshape, that paragraph might go right on top. So it's like that, you know, but I really, again, it's a standalone. It can be just as it is to just warm you up to your own voice, or it can be pieces in and of themselves. It really depends what you're looking for.
Okay. Part 2 of my question.
Okay.
I find that there is most certainly a more direct connection between my brain and my heart and my hand when it comes to writing than using a computer. I don't know why, but when a computer is fine when it comes to your final product or you start doing some serious editing, but my mind does not flow when I'm in front of a computer. It just doesn't. Have you dealt with that same situation?
Yeah, of course. And when we're doing the wild writing, when I'm in my classes, we're all doing it by hand for that reason. And mostly also because I know for myself, there's this tendency to go back on the computer or clean it up or make a
Right.
better word. And I'm trying to get out of that mind. And when I'm writing with my hand, I can really get messy. And that's really important. And it's uncomfortable.
Right. But the only problem with a hand exercise, like in this one, after about 10 minutes, yeah, the wrist starts to ache a little bit.
Yeah, it's practicing that too. So you do what you can. Thank you, Carol Ann. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
Thank you. Hey, Karen.
Hi, thank you, everybody. It was so neat to watch you when I was done or anything, you know, just to watch to make sure it was just so neat to be around authors, you know, and Lori, thank you very much for everything. I love these prompts and I work with children. Well, I was a teacher for 30 years, a second grade teacher, but now I'm a writer. So I work with little children. We are the primary poets, but they're ages 5 to 11. But some of my 5-year-olds that I didn't even tell them about this process, they were doing it. And theirs was about, I love soccer. I really love soccer. These are the reasons why I really, really love soccer. So they were taking, like, I just kept thinking about that. They were taking like what I want to
Yeah.
know. And then, I mean, what I want you to know, what I really want you to know, what I really want you to know and never forget, things like that, just to add on a little bit more each time. And that's what I noticed the 5-year-olds were doing. And they were doing that on their own. I didn't even tell them to add
Yeah.
in extra words, but they
Yeah.
were doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, strategy to just add a little bit more each time. And that was really great, just to keep the audience engaged, because we were performing these. So that's why they were going on even more, and they would underline what I really, really want you to know and things like that. So I just wanted to tell you, I'm going to tell those kids that they are on the right track, and they made me on the right track. So
They are
I want to
definitely-
thank you so much, because that was
That's
that
good.
was really amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, kids love this. Kids love this. So you should see what happens when you bring this to teenage girls.
Oh,
have
that's great.
So much to say. Thank you so
That's
much.
awesome. Thank you
Glad you
very
were here.
much. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Susan. Susan Carlson, I see you. You are muted. Yeah. I know we're going over, guys. We just have a few more. If you have to go, please go. But if you want to stay, please do. And Susan, yeah, you're still muted. I can't, I want to reach in and unmute you, but I can't. So I can't unmute you, Susan, but if you can unmute yourself. Oh, good, you did.
Yes. Okay. So I would like to know the name of the poet who wrote How We're Not Alone, and also to make sure I know how to get on I wasn't sure exactly how to get on the call at first, so I stumbled onto it, but I don't know what you actually have to do.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, the poet is Maya Stein, and she's a really incredible writer in Maine. And when I send you the recording, I think her website is mayastein.com, but in the recording, we're going to send the poems, and the recording will come later today, and you'll see her website as well. Okay.
great.
Yes,
Okay.
this is recorded. How you're going to get a link for Wednesday, and I noticed the link said join here. So you should be able to do that. Okay. And
Great.
glad you made it on. Sorry for the stumble. All right.
Great. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful.
You're welcome. Hey, Linda, I don't see your face, but I see your hand.
Yeah, hi there.
Hi.
I'm halfway getting back to cooking my dinner, and I didn't want to show you my messy kitchen. Just a quick comment or question, actually. I did something very similar to what you're doing here with Wild Writing a couple of years ago at the very beginning of COVID. And as I progressed through that course, I think they called it something different, but I noticed that the teacher played music, real inspirational music, and so much more poured out of me. And I started, after I finished these 2 pieces, thinking to myself, had I turned on my own music, because I'm on mute, would more have come out? I felt like when I was doing the 13 minutes, I was more mechanical. And then at the end, I was getting to like the guts of what the brain was telling me. But I just remember and reflecting back to that, when they put the music in, oh my gosh, so much more was pouring out of me. So
Yeah,
I just
because
wanted
music,
to see what your
music's so
thoughts were.
emotional. Music's so emotional and beautiful. Why don't, if you're with us Wednesday or Friday, or even when you're doing the prompts that'll come to you Tuesday and Thursday, put on some music and see what happens.
Okay. All right.
Good.
All
And
right.
let us know. Report back.
All right. Be happy to. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Hey, Christine, you're our last one.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my question so late in the session. I just had a quick question because as I was doing my writing, the prompts were wonderful. I kept writing in what I thought of as Lori's voice, as your voice, Lori. That's what I kept hearing. Your voice saying the poem and your voice saying the prompts. And I'm wondering is that something that with practice I will develop, ways not to do that and to do my own voice, or am I making sense?
I've never heard a comment like that. That's so interesting. When you're writing and so it didn't sound like you, it sounded like me.
Absolutely.
But they were your words, right? And your
Well,
story.
they were my words and my experiences for sure. But I
Did you-
totally heard your voice.
Okay. My voice is part of the transmission here. I hope that my voice is gentle and kind and loving, and that it helps you open up to that soft part of you, So yeah, sure, in time you can just kick me to the curb.
Okay. I just wasn't sure had
I
any
never
tips
heard
on.
that comment. Yeah.
Oh, aren't I special? Well,
Aren't you
thank you very much.
I hope that whatever you heard was gentle and loving. And,
It was.
and yeah, it's practice. The whole thing is a practice.
Right.
The practice of hearing the poem, but really hearing yourself and tuning into yourself so that you can come out to the page as you.
Right. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here. Okay, I don't know if we have any more, but I think we're good and we've gone over. So I think I'm going to say goodbye right now. Janet, thank you so much for your help today. Thank you everyone for being here. It's really a pleasure and I enjoy it. I'm so glad to share the work. Tomorrow there's a video coming to you. It's 10 minutes long, I think maybe 13. I'm not sure. It's do it at your own time. There'll be one poem to write to. I'm going to suggest you write for 15 minutes, same deal. And then Wednesday we'll meet again live. If you can make it, great. Love to see you, and we will keep doing this and keep learning. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
All the best.
Really appreciate
See you
you.
tomorrow.
Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Janet, thank you. You're welcome.